Welcome to the Wilson Wealth Show, a thought-provoking show about building wealth in the new economy. Each week, members of the Wilson Wealth team and their guests will discuss how to navigate the world of personal finance, stocks, real estate, and entrepreneurship to help you build wealth in the new economy. And now, here is your host, Sierra McCosh.
Hello and welcome to the Wilson Wealth Show. My name is Ablabi Binion Little. Thank you for joining us today. I am filling in for Sierra McCosh, who is here, but is one of our guests for today's show. And of course, Maurice is here, along with our other guests. This month's series is What's Love Got to Do with It? And our topic today is money and dating. Since both Maurice and I are married, we've assembled a group of people who are dating or have dated recently to help us with this conversation. You guys already know Sierra. She's a millennial and part of our team. For the millennial male perspective, we have Connor, a loan officer from the Atlanta area. Both of them have never been married. For that late 30s group and never married, but currently in a relationship, we have Greg from Durham, North Carolina, who's a pastor and he works in pharmaceuticals. We also have Takara, who lives in Atlanta and works in higher education. And for that 40 plus group, we have Cassandra, who's divorced and in engineering from the Chicago area. So Connor, tell me, what about when it comes to how much someone has in savings, investments, a trust account, or if they'll be coming into a significant amount of money from an insurance policy or will? I take it your thoughts would probably be very similar.
Yeah, I'd say they're similar. I mean, I can't tell you how many stories I have about friends who are in a trust situation, who've just got, loads of money in the bank, who, got into relationships that suddenly overnight got a whole lot stronger, and it's like, dang, I hate that. I continue to say that, it's still something that you talk about later, but at some point, that same story I'm thinking about one specific couple, obviously not going to mention any names, but I remember hearing the story from my buddy about the first time he took her home to meet his parents, and they roll up on this, $8 million mansion, and, overnight their relationship gets better. I'm like, that stinks that she had to know that so soon. I don't know. But anyways, yeah. So I think it's definitely as long as you can. I think it's something you hold close to your chest.
Definitely, got it.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, you
Sierra.
did. Sorry, go ahead. No, I'm be.
No, Maurice, please go ahead.
Well, I mean, you said they want to be secure. I think they're going to be secure in an $8 million mansion. So
they sure will be secure. Right. Yeah, I mean, you can't really argue that, but yeah, that's funny.
Definitely. So Sierra, tell us, what would your approach be?
So I've actually been through something similar. Someone that I used to date, we were pretty close to marriage. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, but we were at that point where we were kind of talking about stuff like that. And he let me know that his family had like a lot of money in another country, and like they had lands and it was worth a decent amount. And he was telling me this because he's like, I don't want to screw my family over. And we had talked about a prenup, because if we had gotten divorced, he didn't want me to have something that belonged to his family. You know what I mean? Yeah. I've had conversations like this before, and I'm very pro prenup because, there could be stuff with my family that I wouldn't want my partner to have if, something bad were to happen in our marriage. Perhaps there's cheating or something. You never know what could happen. I'm very pro talking about it. When you get to that serious point and you're like, okay, this is the person I want to marry, I got to let them know what's up. They have no idea that this stuff is going on. And it kind of depends on the person, because I feel like some people might be a little bit hurt that you didn't tell them earlier. But if you kind of, going along with what Connor said, if you explain the reason, then it really does make sense. It's like, okay, you didn't want that to affect my perception of you. I totally understand. It doesn't really matter. So I think it is something that needs to be talked about before marriage, but I don't think it's something that needs to be talked about during the dating stage.
Okay, got it. So far, you and Connor are pretty much on the same page.
For sure, yeah.
So Takara, Are you going to break away from the pack, or what is your thinking?
So mine is different. So I'm a single parent, and so anything that I have now is pretty much set up for my son, right?
Sure.
And if I get married, obviously it won't be to his father, but I get married to someone else, like I don't want what I've set up for him to be affected. So of course there's a third party that is going to manage all that. And God forbid, in the event something happens to me before he's 18, or even when he's an adult, like to help him manage that. So I won't bring it up. I won't talk about those things because those things are for him. It's not, but if I get married, there will definitely be some reallocating of something, but anything that has to do with him, like, it's not going to be brought up because it's going to be for him. I work hard for him. Everything I do is for him. And I also had this conversation. This is funny. So, the general consensus was never bring it up. Never bring it up at all.
Yeah.
Because it's mine.
Yes.
Unless we get something while we're married, then that's what we need to worry about. But I'm not going to tell you if my mom left me something or if my grandparents left. That's none of your business. You can tell that we're benefiting from something when somebody dies, right? Mm-hmm. And that's when it needs to come up, because you know how, unfortunately, when people pass away or something happens in family and there's money involved, people act crazy. And I trust no one in my family when it comes to anything that I have in my savings, my investments, my retirement, or nothing. So I would not bring it up. There's definitely a third party, going to maintain that for my child to make sure he goes to college. He has something to take care of him while he's looking for a job and so forth. And I wouldn't be mad if it went the other way either. That's yours. That's not mine. But when my name changes, then, that's a whole different conversation. But no, not bring it up.
I see. Sure. So before we go to Greg Maurice, you were greeting emphatically. Would you like to share?
Yeah, definitely.
You are agreeing emphatically.
Amen corner. Yeah. First off, I want to know, should we edit the part about nobody in your family to be trusted, but with money? But
they don't listen.
No. One of my first trust fund clients, if you will, came into a considerable amount of money later in life, and she was dating. And I told her in no uncertain terms, they are to never know about this money. So Connor is worried about pulling up in front of the mansion. They can pull up and see the mansion all they want. They should never know the dollar amount. You can't help possessions, but she should never know what you have. If it's not your intent to split it when y'all break up, then don't show it to them. That's my take. And
why do you say that? I'm curious. Because
it just warps everything you're worried about. It warps. I mean, there's no way, so I'm an engineer by trade. So homeostasis is what everything in nature is trying to get towards. So the reason you can't pull up in the hood in a Lamborghini is that they don't have one. You can pull up in, I think, Connor, you're in Atlanta. So what's the hot area in Atlanta? Peachtree City, I think, or something like that, or Alpharetta, You can pull up next to a row of Lamborghinis and be okay. You can't pull up next to a row of hoopties and be okay in your Lamborghini. If you flash your cash, for lack of a better phrase, to your spouse, and they don't have that, nature will take over. They're good people, but they'll talk about it. It has a gravitational pull on the marriage. It's just a burden you have to carry. I'm not even saying it's going to be easy, but if you're there for love, and that's what you were trying to establish, it shouldn't matter that they don't know about it. In my opinion, I'm not saying your approach is wrong, but just as the guy that's got to pick up the pieces financially, as the advisor, and untangle all these challenges to trust, and you didn't tell me, and challenging the prenup because you didn't tell them you had all this money and stuff. If it's not theirs, as the car said, it's not yours. Like the stuff I'm leaving for my kids is not their spouses, their future spouses. It's not it's not the in-laws. It's It's ours, and so I, in no uncertain terms, want anybody to have access to this. You may benefit from it, but in no uncertain terms should you have access to it. So,
Can I interject?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I was just saying, I do think that approach does sort of change once you're married with children. Because if you have to kind of think of it, if the relationship doesn't work out and your partner was withholding something that would benefit your child, and say, God forbid, they're not being very giving about it, then that becomes a problem, because you always want the best for your child, kind of like what Takara was saying. You want the best for your kid. You want them to have all of the things that you and your partner can give. So that's when it becomes a problem. So that was also a stipulation in the possible prenup that I was discussing with my ex, was like, if we have children together, they're getting it. I don't care if I get it, but they're getting it. You know what I mean? They're going to bet.
But
they're your kid.
But I think it's different when like you come into a marriage with a child that's not the person you're marrying versus having kids with the person that you're marrying.
That's true.
So say, I just happened to get pregnant once I got married. And at this point, it's not looking likely. But let's just say it happened, right? And, what I have set aside for my son, that's for my son. But I will make some reallocations to make sure like something is left for the other child as well, because I'm not going to depend on my partner to make sure that our child is taken care of. Absolutely. If I got the funds for one kid, then I'm pretty sure I got enough for the other kid too, because they're both my kids. Mm-hmm. But I will definitely do some reallocating. But I mean, I'm not a money person anyway. I'm like, if I can work and provide for myself, I really don't need your money. Like, I was fine before you, and I'm going to be fine when you're gone. I guess that's my mentality. That's why I don't understand prenups and all that other stuff. I'm just different. I'm sorry.
Well, things just get messy, I would say. You don't realize what somebody's capable of until money's in the way and y'all don't like each other anymore.
That's why you have to be intentional about the person. Like, from a religious perspective, you have to be intentional about the people that you date and who you marry. And that's when God has to get in, like, God should be included anyway, but really should be involved in that decision, because a lot of this stuff can be avoided. From a spiritual perspective, it can be. I don't know, Greg, what do you think?
Yeah, I want to hear Greg.
Yes,
come on, Ship, let's go.
Well, that's definitely a good point that my sister raised about, involving God. The caveat to that is that we all don't subscribe to the same religion.
Yeah, let's go, Gary. Let's go.
So for the Christian, yeah, that's a great way to approach it. But even Christians have their own idiosyncrasies and insecurities around trusting people with their money, because money is such a, money answers all things according to scripture. And it's like, because of that, we all need money. You need money to do ministry. You need money to survive in life. So you might not get someone to agree to a prenup because they're not willing to sign it. But you do have things like, asset protection trust, where you can assign a trustee over that asset and you're the beneficiary of it. And your spouse may have to know about it, but you have that in place to protect, certain assets. Now, someone may say, well, that's being secretive. Well, that's debatable. But the reality is, if you have things like, that you're going to come into a settlement that may be $1 million, well, I cannot expect someone who knows $1 million is coming to them to be so forthright or so trusting with $1 million. Let's be real here. You can have all the Jesus you want to have, but at the end of the day, when you've got this coming to you, you want to protect that, and you should. Now, I still agree that you should be able to trust the character of the person that you're with, but at the end of the day, even the most saved individuals, or if you're not saved, the most moral individuals may have moments of mistake or moments where their emotions get the best of them. That's why I say, if you wait too long to discuss financial matters, like, there are some men who cannot handle if their woman makes significantly more than him or has more assets than him. It shouldn't be a competition thing, but you need to know if he can handle that. He needs to know if she's the type of woman who will hold these things over his head and who will make him feel like he's not the king of his castle because she has more finance than he has. At the end of the day, none of that should matter in terms of our roles and responsibilities in this house. But we need to be able to trust each other and know that we have the best interests of one another to enter this union, because you cannot have oneness, whether you're Christian or not. You cannot have oneness inside of a marriage if you're coming in there with secrets and if you're not being forthright about certain things, because you can't hide things but so long. And when they come out, whatever it is, and you're inside of a marriage, now you run the risk of this person asking, what else are you hiding? Now they don't trust you. And if you don't have trust, you have nothing.
Isn't that where discernment comes in, though? not to take it into a whole spiritual thing, but I'm just saying.
Even the most prolific preachers get it wrong sometimes.
Okay. We can have that conversation offline.
Sure.
That's a whole nother topic when it comes to that. Okay.
So Greg, let me just get some clarity around this, specifically as it pertains to such things as savings, investments, trust, so on and so forth. Is your stance to share this information or not to share it or share it later? Give me some clarity around that.
My stance is to share it if this is the woman I plan on marrying. Okay. You know, I may not say, well, yeah, I've got $8 million coming to me, but I'm going to tell her, yeah, I have a significant amount because of an accident or because of X, Y, and Z, so that she knows.
And then what if the follow-up question is, and so how much is that? How do you respond then?
My initial response would be, why does the exact amount matter? It's a significant amount that I really don't want to get into the specifics of. Now, I can't say how the rest of that conversation goes because I don't know what she would say back.
Got it. Because my answer would be, well, if you trust me, why wouldn't you tell me? And then,
well, I would wonder why it matters.
Got it. Okay. All right. Fair enough. So you want to stick to why the specific detail matters. That's fair. Cassandra, what do you think?
I think that you guys could have a whole other show on prenups. Honestly, hey, mark it down as a potential idea. But I lean more towards similar to what Greg said, maybe. And of course, it depends on the situation. Like if you have trust and things like that coming to you in large amounts, typically the more you have, the more protective you are of it. So it might be along the lines of maybe not disclosing all of the information up front, because ultimately, if we're together, once that happens, you will benefit from it. So I also fall in line with what you said, Maurice, where if we're together when these things happen, or the trust or insurance policy or whatever comes through, if you're around, then we as a family will benefit from that. But especially if there's large things like trusts and things that come into play at a certain age, then maybe that's something you want to disclose. But for instance, I'm not going to have a discussion with anybody about how much my parents' insurance policies are for. Like, that's not going to happen. Again, if we're together and they pass, then you will more than likely benefit from what they've left for me. Now, I will have conversations about, savings and investments, because I want to see where their mind is at with regards to these things. If we're going to be building in the future, and we don't have to get into specifics about how much you have in your investment account or what your gain has been over the past year. I mean, maybe naturally, organically, those things might come up, but I want to, if I know that you're actively investing and you're actively trying to build, that's a good sign to me. That's a green flag that then when we combine forces, we can move forward in a similar mindset and grow together. So from the standpoint of savings and investments, yes, I would ask that. So, do you have savings? Are you investing? Do you do investments? What kind of investments? Do you have a 401k that you're doing your investing through, or for retirement? Or do you have an independent investment account? Those types of questions. There are a lot of the questions that we're discussing here tonight. There are very organic ways to get into these conversations and glean a lot of information from them. But yeah, and it's different. Everybody's situation is different. There are people who, we're all kind of everybody's at different levels, even despite age. Maybe we're in different stages of life, or in stages of, let's say, our financial security, because of what those who came before us provided or left for us. And so there are people in their 20s who don't have anything. There's people in their 50s and 60s who don't have anything. So it really just depends on the stage that a person is at and where their mindset is. My primary thought is, can we grow together? Do you have a progressive mindset with regards to how you're handling your finances? Are we on the same page with how we want to handle the finances in the home? Are we on the same page with, like Greg said, do you have an issue if I make more than you? Or if you have, I'm okay with a prenup. If somebody has, an excessive amount of stuff, I can understand why somebody would want to protect that. And, there are other people, especially like Greg said, in certain Christian communities, and faith-based communities, I won't even just say Christian, that if that a prenup is absolutely not, that means that you think we're going to get a divorce, and that's it. And they're not even willing to consider it. But unfortunately, we've seen, like Greg said, the most saved person, not make it, or couple, let's say, not make it. So you don't know. People do want to protect themselves, and we're all trying to, I think it's important to just put your best foot forward and be with people, be with the person who you're thinking of building a life with, how you would want them to be with you. So if you want all the information disclosed, be ready to disclose all of your information. If you want to protect some of your stuff, do not balk if they want to protect some of their stuff. It's very much, to me, about balance and moving forward, ultimately on the same page with somebody.
Got it. So essentially treat others like you want to be treated, right, Cassandra?
Yeah, absolutely.
Makes sense, definitely. Maurice, real quick, since we've talked so much about prenups, can you discuss the minimum amount of assets you could have, liquid assets you should have, where you should strongly be considering a prenup?
Let's see here. Well, okay, I guess 100,000 would be a minimum. Right. Yeah, 100,000.
Okay, all right, fair enough. I just wanted you to touch on that quickly. We go into more detail about how much assets you should have at what age and all that stuff on a different podcast. So if you listen, you will hear that, and definitely need to consider this prenup show as well. But Maurice, as a financial advisor and a dad of 2 daughters who will someday have to give them advice about, when you ask these questions, what would your approach to your daughters be?
Definitely. I didn't know that we were going to have so many religious, faith-based leaders on the call. So
I didn't either.
Yeah, this is great. And really, I had one answer. We have the benefit of a script here, but I had one answer that I just thought about, just listening to the responses. And I think for me, this gets at, I think, the battle we're having, where we're trying to act in good faith with our future partners, while also in honor to ourselves and to people who have helped us get where we are, leave things for us, great granddads and whatnot, respect and protect what they have left for us. And I think you get into the spirit of what's going on. So for me, when I go to a mega church, I want to know what the pastor makes, and you'll find that they don't want to tell you, and that's a problem for me. Now, why do I need to know what they're making? Because if the church is bringing in X, I want to know how much the pastor's bringing in. If he or she is not stealing, they should freely tell me. It's a public institution. In a marriage, you're bringing private assets to a newly formed, for lack of a better word, kind of public institution for an audience of two. The reason I'm okay with my daughters not telling them what I know will be a decent amount of change that I'm leaving them is because they're not stealing from the new institution by not telling. If they're doing these things, as you guys said, if there's children involved, are we struggling and you're sitting on $1 million plus and not helping us out? That's stealing. Are we doing fine and there's a surprise debt that you didn't tell me about that you're going to throw on the family? That's stealing. But if we're killing it and you're sitting on $1 million plus and I don't know about it, that's protecting your assets. And that's what I would tell my daughters.
That's
it should
very interesting.
Yeah. It should benefit this institution. It shouldn't steal from this institution. And God said, the Bible said, your best stuff is as a filthy rag. And so no matter how good our intentions are, the minute you drop, hey, new spouse, I have this, it will pull at that marriage until it is shared. And there's nothing wrong with sharing, but once you open that Pandora's box, if you ever break, then what was left for you by people that preceded you gets muddied. And that's not what they left it for. I'm not leaving things for my in-laws. I want them to benefit, but I'm leaving things for my grandchildren's grandchildren. And so I don't want it to get taken out, one generation out. So that's just the way I go about it. And that's what I would tell my daughters. And when I think of my daughters, not that we're rich or anything, but I think about Kobe's daughters. I think about Obama's daughters. Like, what are they doing? I know they're locking it down. It's like the closest you're going to get to the Obama money is that Obama's going to be her middle last name as she takes your last name, or her new middle name. That's about it. It'll be like Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. That's as close as you got to the Kennedy money. They were rich. So that's what I would tell my daughters. And my daughters they know what's going on here. They know how serious I am. And it's in order. And we do Bible study. We do Black history, we do money, and they know. And the money is not vilified. It is a result and a medium or means to an end, and a result of doing certain things. And so it is to be handled seriously. So that's a long answer, sorry, but that's the way I look at it. If you aren't stealing, then it's okay to withhold. But that's just Maurice, and I know we aren't going to agree, and I respect everybody on the line.
I like that perspective.
I think that's a great answer.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And, here at Wilson Wealth, our mantra is money gives you options, right? So you don't want to do anything that's going to eliminate your options or that of your children. And so with that being said, our final question is, when it comes to money, what's most important when dating? Is it career, credit, salary, or savings? And we'll start with Greg. What are your thoughts?
What's most important to me in regard to that was not mentioned. All of those, in my opinion, are equally important. But what's most important to me is your stewardship of it. And my thing is, your stewardship will reflect not just in your finances, but in your entire life. So my thing is, it's good to have all of those different accounts, but it's more important that you properly understand how to manage that. Even if you have things like I mentioned earlier, those ATPs, who's the trustee over that, and you being the beneficiary, do you have people in place who are managing even those things? Have you been educated even within your local church, if you're a faith-based person, and proper money management. You know, we tell people to tithe all the time, but don't tell them how to manage the 90.
Preach.
You know, and that's a detriment. So my thing is, even church leaders have a responsibility to not just talk about tithing and giving offerings, but talk about how to manage this stuff. Have classes that are geared towards understanding the stock market. You know, what's a good stock? You know, even if you don't want to be the one that does it yourself, get educated on how to have people do it for you. You know, somebody mentioned earlier, even with 401ks and managing that. You know, that's my thing. That's the most important thing, is how are you managing what you have? Whether you are the cashier at McDonald's or whether you are the CEO of Duke University, how are you managing what you have? Because whatever you make, you could have $1 million in assets and still not live like it. But somebody who has 100,000 is living large and living high, all because they knew where to put what and when to put it there. So again, my thing is good stewardship.
That's a good answer. Good answer. Yeah.
Takara, what about you?
So, I think for me, because of how I am and my work ethic, career is important to me out of all of those, because I go hard for what I do and I love what I do. But I'm never not with a job. Like, regardless of what it is, I'm constantly working. And so, like, I've been on like first dates with people and I've been career shamed, and that's actually a real thing for having a career. And they're like, you just need 30 side hustles. And I'm like, no, that's stupid. Like, why would I want to manage all that? Like, I just think early on, like, it's a turnoff. Like, if you're like, well, I want to do this, but I want to do this and I want to do this, and I'm like, okay, that's a turnoff. You don't know what you want to do. Go find yourself and then call me back in 6 months. But if I'm gonna marry you, like, I need to be able to put trust in you that we are, like, there's some sort of stability there. Like, I'm not gonna carry the family by myself because I'm not the head of the household. That's his job. And I'm kind of old fashioned in that regard. Yeah, you can, we can still work on our savings. You know, things happen. We might have to use it all. We might not. Your investments and stuff like that I don't care about. But, like, if you you don't have a clear idea of what you want to do and where you're going. First of all, at 39 or in my age bracket, I would like to think you know what you want to do. But there are some people still in this age group that still don't know what they want to do. But if you're starting a business and I know you, like, that's one thing, because you had a good career for 20 years and you stepped out on faith and started something new. That's different. But if I don't know you, I'm not taking that chance with you because I don't know your ethic, your drive, like what your passions are. Like, I don't know you. So I'm not going to take that chance with you. So the moral of the story is, if you don't have a job or a career or have a clear path of what you want to do with your life, please do not come 6 feet near me. Please. I need you to permanently socially distance yourself from me. Because if your drive can't match my drive, then I'm gonna need you to go somewhere else, because I don't roll like that over there. And another reason why I really go hard for that, because I'm also a single parent. And I have a child to take who depends on me for survival, even though he looks older than me. He depends on me for survival. So how I'm instilling that in him as well, even though he's a teenager and he's being really lazy right now. But I am really trying to instill, like, you don't want some lazy chick, because if she lazy and don't care, don't bring her in my house. Like, I have to look at it from a parent perspective too. So how I'm instilling that in him, and hopefully I'm setting the example for the type of woman he would like to date or be with later on down the line. But yeah, you ain't got no job. If you can't file your taxes, never mind, I'm not getting into that. But Yeah, just no. I'm good over here. We good. Keep it moving.
Understood. Okay. Career, and if no career, you will social distance. Got it. So this just leads to a follow-up question, just real quick.
Okay.
Does it matter if you make more than this person? Is that a thing?
No, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
But our combined household income can't be less than what I'm making. If that can't be possible. Like we have to, like if one of us has to lose, if one of us happens to lose our job, like somebody should be able to carry the family until the other one is able to find something.
Understood.
But I don't care about that. But you got to bring something. You got to match me or move on. Like just give me 6 feet, please.
Okay. Socially distanced. Definitely. Got it. Okay. Understood. Just out of curiosity for the ladies on the panel, Cassandra, does it matter if the guy makes less than you do from your perspective?
No, that doesn't matter to me. Similar to actually what Greg said, I'm more interested in how you manage what you have.
Okay.
Jobs come and go, careers come and go, careers change, and sometimes, if you want to start something new, you might have to start from the bottom all over again. So things fluctuate. I'm more concerned with how you manage what you have. I think a good indicator for that can be savings and investments. If you were smart with those things earlier on, that can point to just good financial, a good financial mindset and how to manage those things and grow those things and build and move forward. It also helps too, if you've done those things early on, if there is a change in career or a change in your job situation. For instance, people get laid off. I mean, we're seeing that like, crazy, like wildfire right now with this whole pandemic, that you have saved or have investments, have something there for the rainy day. Because we all know, most of us know, especially once you get past a certain age, that rainy day can come in quick and it can come in hard. So how have you prepared for that? How are you preparing for, a family? If somebody wants to have kids, that brings in more, factors into the situation. So, I'm very much interested in how you manage what you have more than if you make more than I do or not.
Okay. Got it. Okay. So
Definitely.
not really a preference leaning either way, whether it's career, credit, salary, or savings. It's more so about what you have, like what Greg had mentioned. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah, I would say it's most definitely about how you manage what you have. And like I said, if I'm going off the list, I would say savings and investments, because that can be an indicator of how you manage what you've had.
Okay. Understood.
In some ways, that's like a credit score in itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Definitely. And Miss Sierra, what are your thoughts?
Absolutely. So, you know what? I had something completely different prepared as well. I was going to say mostly career, just being in my 20s. Anybody who has a career is very impressive to me. I'm going to be honest. I'm like, oh, wow, I don't have to pay for everything. This is great. But yeah, I think that's very important. Aspirations are very important. But, now listening to you guys, I realize all of it is very important, and how you manage your money is extremely important. And I would say, like, a good question to ask people who you're on a first date with, ask them what they did with their stimulus checks. I think that would be a really good question.
Okay.
Because if you built a PC with it, I don't think we're going to work out. But if you saved it, and if you had the means to keep working and you got the money and you're able to do something like decent with it, if you could afford to, I know a lot of people needed that money to get by, which is obviously perfectly fine. But if you didn't need that money, which a lot of people I knew didn't necessarily need it, but used it to do something fun, which to each their own, but I would have saved it. I'm just saying.
Understood.
Yeah. But you can also gauge how much how much they make. They don't make over $75,000 if they get that stimulus check.
That's true.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
If you're like, I got a stimulus
the career lady, no.
Wait, but the only thing about that is, for instance, It depends again if they took some time, if they took, let's say, a stint off. So, and they didn't get their stimulus check and it was, or they got their stimulus check because it was based on their tax returns from the previous year, but now they're making over 100K. I know people who that's happened to as well.
Yep.
So,
Interesting.
Yeah, that's possible.
yeah, I mean, I'm just saying that there are, it really can, you know, you kind of have to look at the individual situation and get deeper into it. Like Takara said, you can most definitely get a gauge, but you most definitely need to get more of the details because there are extenuating circumstances for most things.
Yeah, my biggest point on that was I know plenty of people who just didn't save that money at all, and now they're not doing so good. They decided they wanted to buy something big and fancy with it, and I just don't find that very attractive at all.
Mhm.
But that's my own personal thing. So career for sure is very important to me, but money management, now that we're talking about it, is very, very important. And I just thought the stimulus check thing was a really good example of that.
I have a question. Has anyone taken the and Maurice, you can't answer this. So has anyone taken the financial peace class from Dave Ramsey?
Oh.
How are you going to come on our show?
That's why we got that edit, baby.
Oh my!
But that's okay. It's a fair question. Go ahead and answer.
I'm asking that question because, like, what I'm noticing, like, I took it, right, and it helped me budget a little bit. Like, I stopped buying like one extra pair of shoes. Ooh, thanks. But the class cost money. He wasn't telling me anything that I didn't already know or I wasn't aware of. And, you know, I just wasn't whatever. Anyway, but what I'm noticing is like there has been in visiting Nashville, because it's where my folks are now or whatever, he's really big in Nashville. And it's kind of like become a trend. I don't know, not necessarily in Sierra's age group, but they are really pushing his class into teaching you how to budget your money and doing all these other things. Now, with knowing that, like, I guess you can answer this, Maurice. Would you recommend someone to take that? And what do you think the benefits of it is? Especially if they're like single, because couples have taken it at my church and they're like, we're debt free. Yay, we followed his advice, but my credit sucks right now because I had to get rid of all my credit cards. What do you think?
Maurice's answer is to make more income. Go ahead, Maurice. Sorry.
What'd you say?
Your answer is to increase your income.
That is my answer. I think anybody that's talked to me, I think me and Cassandra and I have had conversations offline very recently that my default answer to any budgeting is to make more money. Because you spend so much time cutting up credit cards, putting it in the freezer and eating ramen. I'm like, you could have one of those 35 side hustles that Takara talked about. And it's easier to me to inflate income than to decrease spending. It's more of in life, I believe in cumulative experiences. All you have when you get rid of debt is what you had before. So if you were broke before, you're going to be broke again. You might as well increase your income and then you can blow all that out, because that's what Ramsey did. He didn't cut his expenses. He started making more money. So that's just my take. But I will say this, long answer. If people are taking these classes and dating, then that is smart, because that is a form of pre-marriage financial counseling. And I'm down for that.
Okay.
So last but certainly not least, Connor, what is most important to you as it pertains to money when dating? Is it career, credit, salary, or savings?
Well, nothing I'm going to say is going to, really move the needle. Everybody's had a lot of really good things to say, but I would say of those things, it's certainly career, but really more importantly, I think it's purpose. Because I think that, career, someone else said this, I can't remember who it was, but career can change. And, I think you can, do a little bit over here in this industry and a little bit over here in this industry, but I think your purpose is the thing that stays put with all those moves. And so, really when I think about, somebody I want to spend my life with, it's somebody who's really got some, God instilled purpose in them. And I just think that's just really genuinely attractive when, helping somebody or, taking somebody where they want to go, or, different life purposes like that, that's way more attractive to me. Even if you make, no money, minimum wage, whatever. Because in a sense, I think that, marriage and, dating and whatever is kind of like an adventure, and money is just kind of the thing that comes out of that. But really it's more about, what are you really pushing for long term? So that's all I got to say about that.
No, I like that answer.
Definitely.
That's interesting.
That's great.
Yeah. This is a.
But I guess to piggyback off of that, I had a thought. I swear my age is catching up to me now. I forgot what my thought was. Never mind. I'm sorry.
That's the age.
It's the age. I'm getting older. Jesus. I forgot what my question. Oh, I know what it is. Okay. So to piggyback off of that, I did actually date someone, and this is funny. I did date someone who had a career but started a business, and I was super supportive until they said, I don't know if I want to keep doing this. And then I was immediately turned off. Maurice, am I lying?
Oh no. No, it was you were going. Yeah, you go hard like you said, and he wasn't matching your speed.
And I was like, so what the heck have I been doing? Like, this is a waste of my time. I could give me 6 feet, please. Go over there. And it's frustrating because it's like, you're old. I mean, not old. I didn't mean it like that, but come on. Like, is this a midlife crisis? So, I mean, see, kind of what Connor is saying, yeah, it's kind of attractive when you know what you want to do, stuff happens. But also, like, I guess because I'm a project manager to a degree, have a plan in place and have a backup plan. Or maybe it's the Capricorn in me. I don't know.
But I knew you were a Capricorn.
Like, have a backup plan in case the plan doesn't work out. Have a plan B, C, D, all the way to double Z. If the initial career doesn't work out, I always have a backup plan. I've never not worked. So I always have a backup plan, even if it's like just a temporary plan until the permanent plan falls into place. And I expect that out of my partner. I'm not asking for a lot. I just need you to have it together.
I like
so
that.
We can live.
Got it. And I think that's a great place for us to end. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I had said this would take an hour or less, and we're about 15 minutes over. The conversation has been excellent.
As a final thought, we would like to leave the audience with this. Determine what your dating standards are when it comes to money. Evaluate how someone stewards their money. Determine when in your relationship is suitable to discuss money, and consider getting a prenup to protect your assets in case things do not work out. Thank you to all of our guests for joining us today, and thank you to our audience for listening. Please visit us at wilsonwealth.com, on Instagram and Twitter at Wilson Wealth, and on Facebook at facebook.com/Wilson Wealth for more information about us and the company. We'll see you guys next week on the Wilson Wealth Show.
Thank you for listening to the Wilson Wealth Show, a thought-provoking show about building wealth in the new economy. Each week, members of the Wilson Wealth team and their guests will discuss how to navigate the world of stocks, real estate, and entrepreneurship to help you build wealth in the new economy. Please join us next time on the Wilson Wealth Show.